All right, hello and welcome everybody to Otherworldly. This is August 2nd, 2023. I'm Feather Stych, your guest host while Chipicon is away on vacation. And tonight we're going to talk about ghosts and goblins and other kinds of beasties that go bump in the night. I'm hoping that people have brought stories about their own encounters with such, and maybe we can talk a little about what we think they are and where they come from and how it is that we wind up seeing them. So if you hear strange noises in the background, that's just my cats deciding that they're hungry and they need food, and my husband isn't here yet to feed them, and so they're going to fight. So just ignore them. So as I was starting to explain to somebody before we got on the air here, I was in the hospital in June for a week, the whole 7 days before I had some heart surgery. I am much better now, and the fact that I was having heart surgery really has nothing to do with any of this, except that while I was in the hospital, I had strange visitors every single day, every single night. It began as just like, I thought they were nightmares, but of course I had trouble sleeping in the hospital because you're kind of half asleep, trying to sleep, and it's a strange place and there are noises. But I would lie there resting in bed and dutifully trying to go to sleep, and I would hear things and I would see things moving around in the darkness around me. And they weren't what you would traditionally think of as ghosts. They were not the images of people who had passed. They were not images of human beings at all. They were images of various types of creatures. And these images just got stronger over the first couple of days. And I started trying to talk to them and find out, ask what they were. And there was one set of images that, or something I have seen before that, which are fairies, they call themselves to me. And they are like rainbow mylar colored striped things that dash around the room. And there were a pair of them hanging out on my shoulders during the time I was in the hospital. And there were other creatures that called themselves goblins, and there were other creatures that called themselves sprites. The goblins were kind of brown, grungy things that scrambled around on the floor, somewhere between a spider and a monkey, I think, in mannerism. And the sprites were kind of the ball of light thing, but with spiky rays sticking out all over. And I don't know if those are what they would call themselves, what they would be known as sprites, what would be known as sprites to anybody else, but that was what they were calling themselves to me. And then there were the sandwich cat and the sandwich kittens. And these were the weird ones. I had one meal that was served to me that was not something I got to choose because I had been in tests or something all day. And when it came, it was one of these turkey sandwiches wrapped up on a plate with a plastic over the top. And I looked at it and I thought, well, this is kind of probably there's probably somebody there in the kitchen that spends their day making the sandwiches that are put on a shelf and ready to be distributed to those people like me who didn't get a chance to choose. And I realized I was thinking of them as shelf sandwiches. And then this cat showed up that was calico, not quite like my old cat Toaster, who had been a Japanese bobtail and therefore a calico, but a healthy fat cat that was sitting there making sandwiches. This is something I saw. And I was watching the cat make the sandwiches and putting the plastic over the top of the plate and putting it on a shelf. And then there were these kittens. And there was one kitten that came up to me and leaped up my leg and sprouted wings. And the two fairies on my shoulders flew down to greet it. And the sandwich kittens, as they were known, would fly around to behind this area where their wings were taken off. Not a painful process or anything, but their wings were taken off and then put in the sandwiches, like pieces of meat. Goodness knows what substance these wings actually were. So yes, very bizarre. And I swear I was awake and not on drugs when I was seeing these things. Now, what I found out from the sandwich cat was that this was a process of creating abundance for those who needed it. So somehow this created the energy of abundance for those in our world who needed to have it. And that was all I needed to know about them, apparently, because that's all I was told. Sure, chitin. Who knows? Who knows? But something that contributed to the sandwiches in the right way. And one of the interesting things was that the kitten that jumped up on my leg was a spitting image of my black cat, Betty. So that was my experience in the hospital. Now, one of the things I was realizing while I was there was that I could look out my window on the 6th floor of the hospital I was in and look straight across to the floor of the hospital next door where the maternity ward was, where I was born. I was within a couple hundred yards of where I was born over almost 63 years ago. And I wondered what kind of energy that contributed to my experience. Was it a thinning of the veil in addition to what might happen at a hospital? Were there planes intersecting here, and I was seeing beings from another plane that were making an appearance in our plane? And somehow this was what it's like they may not have looked like this in their own existence, but this is what they look like when they cross into our plane. And maybe we don't see all of them, but we just see this thing that we interpret in a certain way. So I'd like at this point, because I've basically told my story, I'd like to throw this open to everybody to contribute their thoughts and theories and tell their own stories. And maybe we can come to some kind of conclusions about what we think might have happened here or in any of our stories. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourselves and join in. Griffin's on his way in too.
Yeah, logging in even as we speak on my phone, but that's for.
So, anybody seen a ghost lately? Or a sprite or a goblin?
Jen, remember I told you about my story when I was in the hospital?
I think you did, yes.
About the closet, yeah. I had to get, what was it, a hernia repair.
Mhm.
And the nurse stuck me in a room with somebody who had to keep the temperature at 80, and they refused to turn it down. And I get heat strokes at anything over 75 because of my chemo. So they moved me to a room down the end of the hallway. In front of the room, there was like a door. There was like a little mimeograph room, and then there was the hospital room. So you had to walk through that little extra room. They had been using that room as storage. I found out why later on. I was in the room. I think it was after the surgery, and I saw this nurse in a white uniform. They don't wear white uniforms anymore, going in and out of the closet by the door. And I started to talk to her. She never answered.
Mhm.
And then this happened, oh, I don't know how many times. The next day they asked, somebody came and asked me how I like the room, if I found anything strange. I said, yeah. Nurse keeps going in and out of the closet and won't talk to me. And they said, oh, the room's haunted.
Uh-huh.
So I tried to talk to her. She never answered. She just kept going in and out of the closet the whole time. Through the door. Didn't
Mhm.
open the door, just through the door.
That's a more traditional sounding experience. So were you able to find out anything about her appearance other than what they told you?
She worked there a long time ago because of the white uniform, but that was the floor she used to work
Ah,
on.
true.
But I
Okay.
got that from her for what was around, not from there, because they didn't know.
Okay. Interesting. I've often wished I could have experiences of ghosts of the traditional kind, be able to talk to somebody who had passed or encounter their presence here as a ghost. But it's never happened to me that I'm aware of. I mean, I suppose I could encounter a ghost somewhere and not realize they were one.
Yeah, what enhanced mine was I had a surgery and I died during it. And when I came
Ah,
back, then I was able to see a lot of stuff. And then I had a second when I died during
okay.
my first spirit marriage initiation. And that really enhanced things after that.
Gotcha. Well, that's kind of the flip side of my experience where I was close to where I was born. So I had the birth energy and you had the death energy.
My family had the death energy in a way too, because my father died when he was 49. They hadn't invented cholesterol. He just never woke up one night. And I was in grad school in Norway, but my father came back to my mother's mother, who loved him, and said, "Don't worry about me. I'm all right. Everything is fine." And
Mhm.
then when my mom died in 2013, she came back. The lady that was very close family friend who was taking care and doing the um, special care that she needed because she'd been bedbound. Mom
Mhm.
came back and told her, "Don't worry, I'm with Ross. That's my father. All is well. Don't worry about me." So here, both my parents have come back and said, "All's well. Relax."
Okay. Good.
Jane, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Was your father tall and wore a suit and like a hat?
He was 5'11". He didn't really wear a hat much. Um, Sort of dark hair, balding on top. Um, but he came back to my grandmother. So, people they're very closely linked to, because my grandmother essentially adopted my father as her as as her true son, as it were. My father, a long time ago, what he would do he would go to grandma's house. Grandma was widowed, and so dad would say, "Get in your glad rags. Get in your glad rags. I'm taping you out to dinner, and don't tell the little woman." And my grandmother loved it. So, she was very special to him. And then the lady that was taking care of my mom, she'd been doing house cleaning and etc. And then for when she had a love child and no job, so mom hired her on to do house cleaning, etc., because it was just a short walk from her house. And so then, as mom got feebler and feebler, Sue started. She essentially organized the helpers, the care, and she was the one that we'd notify when mom was starting to breathe funny, so she could come. Mom loved Sue, and Sue loved mom, and so there was a very close link there. So Sue was part of the family, as it were. So, you know, in our family, we seem to come back to people that are linked into the family. Didn't want to
Okay.
scare off any of us. Over.
Okay. So a familial
If I could
connection.
If I could finish on that, Jane, the one behind you is he's tall, he's wearing a suit, he's got like a 1940s hat.
Oh,
And he's standing behind you watching the screen.
Well, he doesn't. Oh, well, he'd probably say, "What the heck is this?" Remember, he died in 1965.
no man.
So he would be fascinated.
You're muted, hon.
Yeah. And we're in the same room, so. All right. Unmute, so you can now hear me. Sure.
I have earbuds in, so that's why it's not a problem.
I have once said, more than once, that every man of good character should own one thoroughly disreputable hat.
You've got a funny echo on your voice there, Griffin.
Okay.
All right.
You may be picking up some from my earbuds. I'm going to take out my earbuds and Bill will just talk.
Yeah, maybe
With its
Griffin,
mute.
just say 1 or 2 words, pause, 1 or 2 words, pause, 1 or 2 words, pause. Okay?
All right. Yeah, obviously the technology being in the same room is an issue.
Okay.
It seems to work better.
We're going to echo regardless.
Yeah.
Only
Anyway, I'm here. Finally.
Okay. You want to go ahead and tell any stories you have, Bill?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure I have stories about hauntings, but I have at least one story about dislocation of reality that I experienced when I was younger. I lived in my parents' house in an upstairs bedroom I had remodeled to my taste. And from my bed, I could see the dormer window. So when I woke up, I woke up and I'd see the light and I would know it was time to get up. One night, I woke up, or I thought I woke up. Something was wrong. The whole place, the whole room, everything around me felt weird. So I looked up at the dormer window, and it was dark out, which it was not because it was morning. So I thought to myself, I'm awake, but I'm seeing this. No, I'm not awake. I'm dreaming that I am awake. And it was the first time I implemented something I still use to this day. And instinctively I said to myself, reset. Not moving out of the dream. And then I looked out the window again. And it was morning, like it was supposed to go. But I was really unsettled by this because it was like somebody screwed with my reality for a while. And I have had similar, if not quite so impressive experiences throughout my life. It's like I'll just get into this. It's like an edge of a corner of reality. And I'll be aware
of
something else kind of like
intruding.
And I've never put much thought into this until I started getting involved with Otherworldly and realized that as I stumbled through life, every once in a while, one foot would go into another reality for a while. And it's become more of an
issue as I think about it now, because, you know, we always talk about how, oh, this started when my grandma taught me this when I was 9, and I never thought about having these old stories. But then I realized, crap, this has been happening to me my whole life. I've always been kind of on the edge of something without realizing it. So I'm not sure if that counts as a haunting or a ghost story or just a major WTF about my whole life. But when I think about Jen's story about how thin the veil was, and I felt that when I was in her room, and it was a similar feeling to what I have felt when it was like I was looking at the window and I realized I was dreaming I was awake. I had that same kind of disoriented and disconnected feeling that I felt when I was sitting in her hospital room and realizing, yeah, I can see the clock tower from here. She was born there and I could see it. And that put a kink in my reality that I had to acknowledge. And like I say, it was a lot like some of the other things that have happened. So I can add my own experiences to what Jen went through, plus add a lot of random reality weirdness that I have gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know if people can hear me if I speak through Griffin's connection here.
well, I'm going to stop talking for a while so you can unmute and run with what I just said.
All right. Well, that's an interesting, and I'm echoing now. You'll need to turn your sound off.
I just muted.
Okay, no. Turn your sound off. We can hear the audio from your screen. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've had a cat come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Our Maine Coon, Bessie.
I can't hear you now, Jane. Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
We had a Maine Coon cat named Vesta. And she made it 22 years old and then died. But then one night, there was something on the foot of my bed purring. And just purring, and right where she would sleep. So the cat came back the very next day.
The cat came back. We thought he was goner.
But the cat came back and wouldn't stay away.
Mm-hmm.
And she checks in every so often.
Yeah. I do have connections with being a medium for dead animals, and that's not the same thing as a ghost, though, because
Jen,
it's an
don't you
apparition
like it?
appearing in.
But a
Don't
later
you like
cat,
it in the middle of the night when they start running all over your bed, chasing each other?
I am constantly feeling cats walking across my bed.
and then they step on your bladder early in the morning.
All right.
But
yeah,
I had a cat, Holly, that I brought here where I've moved to Beaver Meadow Road. And when she died, I was off at Penzic, and so somebody was taking care of her and realized that she was dead. But
No.
for a number of nights after that, she was still curled up when I'd go to bed and I was just drifting off, and there she was snoring next to my ear.
Yeah, my cat Toaster that passed in December. Her ashes are in a box next to my bed. I still feel her against my back sometimes, curled up there.
The most comfortable spot in the house is where the cat is.
Yep.
Has anybody had a dog come back?
No.
No,
No.
not me. Although I am invested.
You're echoing.
One of our cats I will be forever haunted by meowing by the food dishes.
She's been all over me today, trying to get fed. Waiting for
There's
Bill
a
to come home.
great restaurant on the other side of the river from me called Two Wrestling Cats. And everybody loves the cats, and they'll have cats for adoption, and they make the best damn sandwiches on
Okay.
that side of the river.
Okay. Oh, sandwich cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sandwich cats.
Making sure there's abundance for everybody.
Actually exist.
Did anybody hear what Bill just said?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to do this with my phone.
Okay.
Trying to do this on my phone. I have no idea what works. But,
Yeah.
but I said, sandwich cats? They actually exist?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like the conversation's petering out a bit.
Well, let me pick it up a little bit. How about
Okay.
shadow beings? The type of work I do, I get a lot of them coming in and out, revolving
Okay.
doors, since I do a lot of like healing of the dead and stuff. One of the things I thought was really cute, there was about a 2 or 3 foot tall black shadow at my front door. And I just automatically said, "Oh, hi." And it turned and looked at me, and it got scared and vanished.
Yeah.
But I have a
You're
lot of
supposed to see-
shadows going in and out of here all the time. My little cat's used to them. The old cat with the dementia doesn't even notice. But it's just
Mhm.
like, they're always here, all different colors, all different shape and sizes. But the one I talked to, I did not mean to scare it.
I am expecting that what I experienced in the hospital was out of the ordinary for me, because I don't normally look for these things. But I was there in a vulnerable state with precious little to do. And so I must have found myself encountering a lot of things that one normally wouldn't. And I imagine they might be around me all the time. I'm echoing, aren't I?
Yep.
Well, I have my audio on,
Okay.
and it's because we wanted to pick up on the conversation of that. And all of this, not just tonight's conversation, but all of otherworldly, reminds me that we are constantly surrounded by all of these things. And it is only our perceptions that prevent us or enable us to experience them. The veil is always there. But how thin it is really up to us. And as I experience more of this after a lifetime of,
Okay.
we
keep losing Bill.
Well, I'm apparently wading in and out.
Yes, we've noticed that.
So anyway,
Okay,
it's all around us.
It's all around us.
And I feel it.
And I feel it more now than I used to.
sorry about that, Robin.
Because everybody
I work with here
has sensitized me to
has
it.
sensitized me to it.
And I think good thing.
it's a good thing.
So that's my thought.
Okay,
One thing that I've been trained in, you know, in the Norse stuff is called utiseata, scythe, where I would be going into trance to go out to the gate to try to contact those who have gone before. And I haven't done it for quite a while because you sort of need a person who can link in with me, but can link with an audience who wants to ask questions. And so I would hear only that person, and I would not hear what the person coming up would ask. And scythe is came to the Norse from the Sami. We used to call them laps, but
Right.
lap in Norwegian means a tattered piece of cloth.
Yeah.
So that's a denigratory name, but they call themselves Sami, just like the Navajo call themselves Dina, the people. Right. And so I've gone out on a number of occasions right up to the veil, and they have come forward to the veil, and we've been able to communicate in that. But this is a sort of a specialized training that I had. There are other scythe practitioners, I'm sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Starwolf could do this sort of stuff. Over.
I probably could too if I were to explore it. I just haven't done so. Maybe once our crisis of summer gets passed with here, and we have a place to live, I can do some experimenting in that regard. I know that I can contact the veil. I obviously did so in the hospital. I speak with, I have a spirit rat who is a psychopomp, and we work together to help people pass over, help animals pass over.
And
you're starting to echo.
Right.
No, I just
unmuted.
Is I
got a few things to say, and then I will
do the sign off.
Over.
The
veil.
I find it
very similar.
The boundary between reality and the void.
We've lost you again. We're gonna have to say fuck this and put those on the screen because this is not working.
Okay.
Mumble, mumble, mumble.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
We're having internet problems. I don't think I'm signed into the local network.
You need to sign off. And we're gonna do this.
All right, well, you're gonna bring me in?
We're gonna.
Okay, well then I'm going to participate by leaning over my shoulder and sign out from the meeting.
All right. So Griffin is here to the side. And we just figured that as host tonight, I would be in a screen by myself.
Right. But the phone thing isn't working terribly well.
Leave Zoom.
Well, you're not echoing.
Not anymore.
I wonder what it is with the echo, because I remember in when we were doing the meeting on Thursdays, there were echoes.
Well, what it was is Bill was on a phone that was picking up the sound in the room, and I was on a laptop that was picking up the sound in the room. So, and both would feed in the sound separately into Zoom.
All right, well, I've left.
Yes, we are now only on one device.
Right. So I'm over here.
Yes. So, yes, I eventually need to look into some way of exploring where the veil is around me and what the spirits are and what the beings are that are intersecting with our plane of reality.
And the thing I was trying to say was that in Zen practice, what we call the veil is actually the boundary between the void and everything else. And crossing the void into the void is considered a very dangerous and big deal.
Mm.
So
You're absolutely right. Yep. Yep.
because when you cross into the void, you cross into the realm of all that is, or everything, everywhere, all at once.
Mm.
That is a perfect description of what you experience in the void.
Which
Because
is
you're
why
able to
when I do the
find
scythe,
or
I
anything,
go up to the void, but there is the veil there, but there is communication between, but
yes,
I do not go right up to, I go close, but just so that I can get.
Okay,
So sometime, Feather, you and I could do a scythe practice.
that would be interesting, yes.
oh yeah, that would be.
As I
so-
say, once our situation stabilizes some.
yeah, really.
So how's the situation going?
The situation is that we have an eviction notice that expires next Thursday.
Ouch!
I will be renting a storage locker tomorrow. And I am waiting for an answer back from a good friend who has 3 sturdy workers who move an amazing amount of stuff in a short time.
Mhm.
And when he tells me when they are available, I will present them with a big ass U-Haul truck to move things into the storage locker.
Right.
And that will at least allow us to get out of the old apartment and then say goodbye forever.
Now, the eviction notice is not to worry about because we have legal representation and so do they. And it's part of the agreed upon process that's going on here.
Right. So this
Where
is-
do you guys live?
Syracuse, New York.
Boy, are you getting another apartment?
We're working on it.
we're working.
We
on
have, but we are disabled and old and have mobility issues and bandwidth issues, and we can only handle so much at a time.
it. Right.
And I've spent a month so far recovering from heart surgery. So I haven't been able to be much help in any of this.
right.
So it's all been on Bill. And Lois, feel free to cut this part out of the show if you want.
Yeah, really. This is hardly part of the discussion. But realistically, I will be so glad to be out of the old apartment. Because we have been stressing this for 5 months now. Since the original notice from the landlord saying, want you out of here by May 31st.
No, June 31st. June 30th, rather.
Well, let's see,
No, June 3rd. You're right.
March,
Sorry.
April,
3rd.
May.
You're June 3rd.
Yeah.
And it's confusing in all the details because she constantly made mistakes
Well,
on what the details were.
She has a problem with dates and
Okay.
numbers. I had to laugh because the contractors who are remodeling our apartment while theoretically we're still in it admitted that no, she doesn't know about dates and numbers.
Okay.
But
We
anyway.
have turned highly personal here,
I know we have.
and maybe we should end the recording.
Well, maybe so. If we haven't got anything else. Now, I have dumped out everything I have to experience and have experienced about. And I'm really kind of slipping around over the concept of haunting.
Haunting, yes. What does haunting really mean?
That's a damn good question because
Would what I experienced in the hospital count as a haunting rather than ghosts? Because it was beings that were there and
Well, if you
Haunting,
believe,
I would think would be something scary, you know. "Woo!"
exactly,
I don't think necessarily scary when I hear haunting.
well,
I think something that kind of sticks around and lingers and
well, it has that factor, but commonly haunting implies the persistent presence of something that is disturbing or frightening.
okay, and I would say that isn't supposed to be there, but not necessarily disturbing or frightening.
Right.
Like a haunting might be the old lady who died in the house and does nothing worse than hang around the fireplace and have tea. But she's
That
just a
would-
ghost that's
That would
there.
be kind of a neutral haunting. And I remember a story about a guy who had a ghost in his house, an elderly gentleman who seemed completely innocuous. And he actually kind of made friends with the ghost. And they would sit and they would play cards to the best of the ghost's ability to control the ectoplasm. And he apologized for dropping the cards at times. But realistically, the haunting is kind of a neutral concept.
Yes, that's what I think.
And I don't like things that seem to narrow things down when I'm really looking at about, okay, you're stepping outside of rational, conscious reality. I don't care what you call it. It's going to be weird.
Mhm.
And I think that's what this is all about. My experiences of waking up and realizing I was dreaming about being awake. Okay.
Well,
And
I've done that.
I've still, to this day, if I don't like the dream I'm in, I'll say to myself, okay, reset. And
Yeah,
bump
I'm
out the dream.
I'm a lucid dreamer. And so if something is going the wrong way, I can, either
I'm
stop it.
not lucid enough to change what's happening in my dream reality. I am lucid enough to realize this dream sucks. I'm out of here. So,
I can wake myself up too. Oops, it's just me here.
Oh dear.
we lost.
Oh. Well, we're approaching 9 o'clock,
That's true. It is getting a little late. Star Wolf
so
has a specific limit.
heading out, he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this was very interesting.
Yes, it was. Thank you so much for being here
I
and
appreciate it.
sharing
Yeah,
some of your
Yeah.
experience.
yeah, because
I think we've managed an interesting discussion.
Yeah, and to me, haunting is something that hangs on a little bit. It's
Mhm.
persistent. It's
And
like the wanting to be fed.
I feel like haunting is more about the specific link to a person or place that
right.
is being haunted.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So-
that's one of the things I get out of these meetings is a broader perspective of what things mean. And also, it's kind of wonderful to meet other people who have had similar experiences. So you have no idea how powerful it is to realize, wow, I'm not the only one.
You're not crackers. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I might be crackers, but I'm not weird. Well, I'm weird, but
Well, hey, yay. Good for you.
All right.
Finest kind.
Well, thank you, Jane. Before we end the recording, I'm going to just say that people should check out our website at ctcw.net. And the Changing Times, Changing Worlds Conference will be November 3rd through 5th in Honkston, New York at the what is it called again?
They keep changing their names.
a wonderful hotel.
A wonderful hotel. You can find all the information at ctcw.net, and we hope that many people, it will be live this year, so we hope that many
Yes.
people will come.
Yeah,
And
in
thank you all for
person.
joining us in person. And next week we'll have Cami Landy talking about creating intuitive layouts for tarot readings.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's
that
gonna
should be really interesting.
I can spell tarot, but I could play rock. But tarot feels, it's like, it's like eating a lemon. It just doesn't work for me because I'm Norse tradition.
That's like me and most divination oracles. I work magic a totally different way. So runes and tarot, all of that. I have a Crowley thought deck.
Okay, recording ending now.